Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for joining me on another episode of Why I Love Flagler County, your local podcast spotlighting local residents, local businesses on why they like Flagler or why they like running their business in Flagler. So today I'm super stoked to have my guest, Vinny, with me today. I've met Vinny through different events here because he is super active in the community. So he is a great person. So I'm really excited that he took some time to share with me today. Thank you, Vinny.
Thank you, Macy, for having me. It means a lot, and it's really cool what you're doing. I think it's really awesome to be able to bring out businesses and local people that have lived here for a while or maybe not so long and really getting used to Flagler County. It's a beautiful place. Growing up here, this is basically my hometown. So yeah, again, appreciate you having me on, and yeah,
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah,
here.
well, yes, I appreciate which is also a huge part of why I started is because, I was new to the Flagler area and I was like, I need a way to be integrated into this like community. They seem so tight knit and like everyone kind of knows everyone. What is a great way for me to learn from these people and how can I help them? And I thought this was a kind of cool way of just talking to people and having this conversation. So like you said, you've been in Flagler specifically, like your pretty much your whole life. I would love for you to talk a little bit on how much it's changed. I'm sure you've just seen so much happen, especially in the past, like even few years, but just in general, I'm sure it's just transformed.
For sure. Yeah. Growing up here, my mom and I actually moved here when I was 8 years old. And we lived all over Florida up until that point. It was, again, a single mom growing up, that was our very first house was in Palm Coast, so it was, coming from humble beginnings, it was a $72,000 house back in 2002 and out there in the L section. If there's one thing about you newbies in Palm Coast, we do things a little differently here. We got a lot of sections here, so yeah, it's pretty cool. But back then, our population size was 25 30,000. Yeah, I mean we maybe had five lights in the entire county. So and of course 20 years ago, that was a norm. That was something that, but we knew this only had the potential to keep growing. We're right in between St. Augustine and Daytona Beach, and those are two very big, touristy places, and again, this is the middle, this is kind of like that middle in between those things, and that was the biggest attraction, obviously, other than the fact that there's five, six, 12 golf courses out here. And, everything's 10 to 15 minutes away. The convenience is so great. But there's been so much that's happened over the past 20 years in growth. And it's important to notate, we've grown in this county over 100,000 people within 20 years. So, when you're talking about growth, you're talking about residency. It's one of those things. It's pretty cool. It's pretty cool. But of course, that also comes with more traffic, and it comes with more things. So we just we adjust. You live, you breathe, you adjust, and that's exactly what we're doing. And obviously, it's really cool to kind of see the growth for sure.
Yeah, I mean, where I'm from, I come from Michigan, like and where we're from in Michigan, my mom saw when she first moved to the suburban city that we were from, she was like, yeah, growing up, she's like, it was all farmland. And I was like, that's crazy. And then I think now our town has like maybe 85,000. And that's happened over the progression of maybe 40 years, which is like, it's just crazy to see that even when I was a kid, like even 20 years ago, where I was from, it looked completely different to what it is now. And sometimes I feel like you don't realize the growth because it comes so gradual and so natural. But then you look back and you're like, oh my God, that Target was not there. There was not
Yeah.
that bar, there was not that bookstore there. There was that bookstore there. It's like it's crazy things to like look back on like 5 years ago.
Where my branch is in Target Plaza, you're talking not even 15 years ago. This wasn't even here. Where I'm sitting right now was just woods.
Right.
And I'm sitting, this is my conference room, and it's got a big plasma television here. Again, like when I grew up here, you drove all the way down here. We're on Belterra and 100. You turn on 100, and you're probably only seeing Flagler Palm Coast High School, and then you're just well on your way to the bridge, and there's the Burger King that's hidden to the right, and you just keep going to Flagler Beach. The Winn-Dixie's been there forever too, so but really 100 was kind of desolate until you got to Bunnell on US 1 and 100. Yeah, but obviously it has grown a lot. And obviously on the 32137 side of things as well, where Palm Coast Parkway is, that's obviously grown a ton, especially including that new hospital that's come into that area, which is good for the community, good on that side of town. They definitely needed that. And it's good. It's good to see growth. But obviously the biggest thing that's always been, from the natural perspective of growing up here is the preservation, and what are we doing to also preserve the environment, the ecosystem that surrounds around Flagler County, as well as the continued growth that we're going through.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's a pretty big point, because that's, we are now at a point in time where, we're 93% owner occupied out of our
Mhm.
occupancy, 7% commercial. So really, while the growth is amazing, that commercial growth would obviously be a very big advantageous thing for us to kind of go down eventually. And I know there's a lot of movement and different things like that, but it's we have a very, I think we have a really positive outlook, over the next decade of where we're going to be where we're going to be headed. But it's not going to be fast moving, much like the population. It's going to be a little slower. So, the biggest thing is just, as long as you're patient and kind of have a 10-year outlook, we'll
Yeah.
probably have that, will be, really good for us. So yeah,
Yeah,
for
I think that's a really great point, is that it's not going to happen overnight. Like, none of the growth that we have now happened overnight. And it's still like there are still so many new things opening up. And I think as long as us as residents and as citizens, we're just kind of having our heart in the right place, and we're making our voices known where we think it matters. I think a lot of it will come to fruition a lot sooner than maybe some people think. So it's just being, active and keeping updated on what's going around. So you've been with Trustco for, what I remember, 7 years, is that correct?
yes, going on 7 years.
But you've only been in Trustco and Palm Coast for about a year and a half or two-ish years, right?
2 years, yes, 2 years and 2 months. Our grand opening was awesome. We, Eric, my regional president, of course, if he's watching right now, just you know the story. Since I started with the company as a part-time teller, I remember walking into his office and telling him, Eric, have you ever thought about opening a branch in Palm Coast? The one thing that that community is looking for is, a local neighborhood hometown style bank. We would obviously be a really great option. Of course, the elephant's out of the room. There's a lot of banks in Palm Coast, of course, but not necessarily as community driven. We have a
Right.
lot of we have community we have a community bank that's right across the city, and they do a great job too. But obviously on this side of town, that hometown community environment and what we're trying to accomplish needs to be kind of widespread to kind of bring that hometown environment into what Palm Coast has always been. That hometown neighborhood place. Again, that's community driven, community oriented. And so yeah, I mean, it took about 6 years. It was in Orlando for about 5 years, until my wife and I decided to move back to Palm Coast, because that was, our stomping grounds, something we were familiar with. We missed being close to the beach. That's another thing about Flagler County. It's amazing, 15 minutes to the beach, no matter what, or less.
Right.
It's it's really cool. Ease of access. It's, it's that's a really great part, a great caveat to us. But when we had our grand opening in October, it was all sweet. Speaking of which, we had Swillerby's have breakfast there
Uh,
that day, and that's another thing that if you are new to Flagler County, that is a dynamite place to go for donuts.
oh yeah.
Yeah, and they got two locations. They got one on Cypress Point and one in Flagler Beach. I always went to the one in Flagler Beach, but I've been to one on Cypress Point, and they're really great too. But the grand opening had about 180 people show up to that one day, so it was really cool, including Commissioner Greg Hansen and Mayor David Alphen. Greg Hansen actually cut the ribbon, so it was really cool. A really, really, really awesome event, and really grateful for the turnout and obviously the support ever since then. So
Yeah, I think what you're saying makes so much sense, especially knowing you and knowing what you stand for, having that close community access for those in Palm Coast and in the Flagler area, that you're with them and you can walk them through, you can meet them for a cup of coffee, you can help them through the questions they have, and you're so responsive. So I think that's awesome that you're coming on here and you exactly practice what you preach.
yeah, and that's again, it's important. Really, really, the thing is to really work with the growth. But the biggest thing is the way that we can really work together to make sure that it's a community-driven community to keep those preservations is to go out and be involved. Be involved in your nonprofits that you believe in. Be involved with your charities and the things that Rotary clubs, for example, just like I believe we're talking to owners to kind of work towards getting your business, but be involved in the chamber. There's so many events, so many things that happen in this community every week. It seems like that again, just keep tabs of that, because even though we grow, we're still going to have the heart of what Palm Coast has always been, and that's again being community driven and neighborhood friendly, like to everybody that you meet. So
What do you think is a great way for those either new in the Flagler area or just any new person in their area, maybe it's been a while since they've been out there, to get active in, this community or their community?
yeah, I mean, there's so many different options out here. I mean, there's so many different resources and different community events that you can go to. But there's also a ton of nonprofits and charities that, if you support those nonprofits and charities, get involved with them. They host a lot of events. They have great connections to other people that can kind of guide you in being involved and doing different things. There's obviously the Palm Coast Regional Chamber. Greg Blase runs it. It's a great resource to getting out there and knowing the businesses that are in Flagler County. The Rotary clubs. I'm locally involved with BNI, and it's a really great resource to obviously getting to see the movers and shakers in this county, as well as kind of seeing the local businesses. Like I said, there's a lot of different nonprofits and charities that are run around here that really support all different sorts of causes. But really, just check your schedules, see what's out there. Go on the City of Palm Coast website, go on the Flagler Chamber website, and see all the events that are going on. And join in on those things. There's Strawberry Fest. It's like a big thing that's here. The Creekside Festival, that Flagler Broadcasting hosts. It is literally you can. There's so many different resources and so many different events that happen in this county. Um, there's there's no way not to be involved. I'll be honest with you. There's so many different. If you don't see that there's any way to be involved, then you're just not doing the you're not doing the legwork. Because there's again, like I said, there's a wide variety of different activities and things to get involved in. Friday, I believe there's a Friday night market that meets in Flagler Beach. Right now, considering where during the holidays, there's always like parades and different local events that we've been having for years here. So Yeah, there's a ton of ways to be involved. And, of course, if you have any questions, like I said, I've been raised here, so I know a lot about this area. So I'm always here to help, for anybody that needs help kind of getting involved in the community, knowing what resources they have. But, there's so many
Yeah.
different,
I think,
for
yeah,
sure.
that's a great, just looking out like on Facebook, there are just so many events happening all the time, especially like you said, right now it's the holiday season. There was like the holiday market one, holiday market two, holiday market three, and like different places. And they all had different booths, and there were so many different great booths. I know you were at one of them, the one in town center, and there's just so many great ones. And I think that's also an awesome segue. Like, what is a great way that people can get a hold of you if they had any questions about either the area or Trustco or anything that you would like to talk about?
Yeah. So, first of all, before I give the information, the biggest thing, actually, you know what? Our phone number to the branch is 386-524-5044. Um, and my email address is vdavis@trustcobank.com. We're located right in Target Plaza, right behind the Walgreens on 100 and Belterre. We have an open door policy here, just like the hometown small business environment. We have a 3-ring policy at our branch. No hold music at our branches. You can just give us a call. We'll be there to answer. And of course, with the free personal checking accounts, can't go wrong with that. And the biggest thing too is people that are new movers here. I think that's a really big caveat into while we have the hometown environment, we also apply that into our mortgage products. So if there's anybody that's out there that's looking to buy, we actually do 97% financing with no private mortgage insurance. We don't sell our mortgages.
I'll have all the information in the description if they want to learn more. Contact Vinny, call the branch number that he mentioned, and get all your questions answered. There's a lot of great things that Trustco does that I think a lot of people would be interested if they read a little bit on the website. So, Vinny, thank you so much for showing up today and giving me a few minutes of your time. I really appreciate it. And you shared so many great parts about Trustco, about you, about Flaglers. I think it was really fun. It's fun for me to do, so I hope you had just as much fun.
Of course, and again, if you have any questions about the county, about what's great, good places to eat, good places to visit, obviously I'm always here to help. But like I said, go and check out our Trustco Bank Google page, Trustco Bank Palm Coast. Check it out, see how good we are. We'd love to have anybody in here and be able to help out the community in any way we can. And so yeah, that was
Her?
great. Thank you.
Yeah, of course. Thank you so much. I appreciate it, and I will see you all next time. Bye. I'll have all the information in the description if they want to learn more. Contact Vinny, call the branch